Today I'm joined by someone I've known and respected for a long time, Brant Borchert. Brant is a friend, a senior technology and healthcare leader, a mentor to emerging executives, and someone who has spent decades operating at the intersection of people, trust, and complex systems. He's held leadership roles across healthcare, security, and enterprise technology, but titles aren't why I wanted Brant on the show. What makes this conversation special is that Brant is in the middle of a deliberate transition, stepping away from the traditional definition of success and into a chapter built around creativity, craft, music, and relationships. He's a songwriter, a musician, a guitar builder, and a deep thinker about identity, ritual, and what it actually means to live well. This is a conversation about leadership beyond the job title, about drift versus intention, and about designing a life on purpose. So let's get after it. Welcome to the show, Brant.
Good morning, Jason. I am so stoked to be able to have this conversation with you. I'm flattered you would want to include me in your awesome podcast because I do like to drink coffee and I do my absolute best to do cool stuff all the time.
Well, that's very gracious of you because you were top of mind for somebody to be on this podcast. It's just taken my sorry butt a while to get you on it. So I appreciate that. Thank you for being here today.
Yeah, of course.
So, you know the question, how do you take your coffee?
So I, of course, am a huge coffee fan. I like strong coffee and I take it with a little bit of half and half.
Okay.
And that's it.
So drip, Americano,
At
$9
home,
pour over with a little splash. What do we got here?
At home, it's a drip. If I happen to go out to a coffee shop somewhere, it is an Americano for sure. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. You and I travel the same road with that. It is my preference as well. So,
and as you and I have already discussed, the missus and I are on the verge of getting an espresso machine for the house, and so I'm about to take it to the next level, up my game, as it were, a whole new world of rabbit holes to head down, and trial and error. But if there's something that's fun to experiment with, coffee is on the list.
So okay, so how far you want to go down this rabbit hole?
Well, I need to start slow, like break me in slowly. But yeah, it's I love the process of things, right? So you and I have talked a lot before about this idea of while certainly there are situations where the outcome is important, i.e., you want the end to be a great cup of coffee. I am really interested in and deliberate about enjoying the process of doing something like that. So like really, really getting into how we get to the coffee will be something I'm pretty stoked about.
All right. I think I love the ritual of it. I think so. Let's see if the video here works here. But so for folks, this is the if you're on the video, you get a quick shot of what my coffee machine looks like here in the morning. And it took a while to get to that particular coffee machine after a while. But it is a ritual because those are just the tools, right? There's a process. Everybody has tools on there. And then there's like, hey, I'm going to go to coffee. I can be very functional about it. Get me the caffeine as quick as possible. Get into my bloodstream. Go, go, go.
Yeah.
But for me, I think the path a lot of ways is more important than the destination. And, you know, that's equally important coffee. I say the path, the process, and the destination.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of that ritual. You kind of go into it and you say, okay, it gives you a moment to pause. It gives you a moment to be present. And there's almost a zen to it in my world. That, hey, I'm going to go there. And even with that overly complicated coffee setup I just showed there, it takes roughly start to finish 120 seconds, probably 2 minutes or less for me to actually get my coffee from the ground, the tamp, the weighing, the putting it in there, the letting it brew and come through the system there, and then kind of the quick cleanup. So, but it's somewhat calming for me.
I'm glad you used the word ritual because I have some similar things in my life. So I'm a huge ritual person too, and um, one of the things that is ritual in our house is steak and potatoes on Saturday night and a bottle of wine, right? And so like it's always been this thing. A lot of people they'll say like church is a weekly ritual, right?
Hmm.
Like Sunday morning we get up, we do this thing. Like it doesn't matter if you don't feel good, it doesn't matter what time of year it is, you still go. This has been a thing for my wife and I for well over 20 years, and
Okay.
I largely quit drinking alcohol a little over 2 years ago, but I still do the bottle of wine on Saturday nights because it is a deeply embedded ritual. And a lot of people tell you like, oh, the screw caps make better wine now or whatever, but like the cork and taking the foil off and the
Mhm.
corkscrew and the cork coming out and then the pour, like that ritual is 10 times more important than the actual like wine that we're drinking afterwards. But that process is so embedded into this is a grounding moment of the week. And, of course, we have amazing steak and potatoes and the whole thing. But yeah, I love the idea of any kind of ritual that sort of centers you and grounds you and gives you a moment where you are genuinely in that moment, right?
Yeah.
Whatever else is happening in the world, like it's somewhere else and you're present, you're there. I think most of the time those rituals are very calming and you're just like centered, right? It's super super zen, super be here now.
I like that a lot. I mean, I like steak, potatoes, and a glass of wine as well. So, I mean, yeah, you kind of had me at the beginning there, but I'm with you. Probably about a year ago, year ago now, I decided to cut back on alcohol as a whole. So, I mean, I'll still have a beverage socially, or a glass of wine or two with a nice meal.
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah.
So, I think it's just healthier for me. That's kind of where it landed,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. I agree. It's healthier for me. I mean, I've been I'll say a consistent consumer of alcohol since my teens, and uh, obviously, well, maybe not obviously. It's a fantastic, accessible coping mechanism for like
mhm.
dealing with hard stuff, and you're like, I don't have to deal with it as much when I just have a little drink and let the worst float away. But I was definitely um, dependent. I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine, and we're talking about the difference between addiction and dependency, right?
Okay.
And addiction is this idea of where you have something in your life that you're participating in to the extent that it is negatively impacting your life in some other way, right?
Okay. Yep.
You're sacrificing relationships, your performance at your work, maybe your own health or whatever. And there are situations where you can be dependent on something. So you're still using it to cope, but not to the extent where you are negatively impacting other parts of your life. And for me, at least, alcohol was something I was definitely dependent on, right? It was something like every day after work, I'd have a beer, usually just one, right? Not drinking to excess, no
Yep.
binge drinking or whatever, but it was a crutch for dealing with all the crap that comes with life, right? And when I really kind of cut back and quit, I definitely realized really quickly one how much of a dependency it was in the sense of like autopilot was come in from work, open the fridge, grab a beer, pop like without even thinking, pop the cap,
Yeah.
and sort of
Different kind of
undoing.
ritual, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it was
Different kind of
absolutely a
ritual.
ritual, right? But like breaking that and then realizing afterward how much better I felt without that constant flow of alcohol. just clearer mind, more energy, um, less sluggish. And I thought, like, man, it really did make a difference. Now, I'm the first to say, still, like, I love a drink, and like there are lots of times where I'm like, man, I want a glass of bourbon or a scotch or a martini, or I want to have some
Yeah.
wine or whatever. But I am no longer, I don't feel like I have the dependency like I used to of like, oh, I want that thing as like a little safety blanket for navigating this day and getting to the next.
Well, it became so you and I are completely aligned on this one. Um, so about 2 years back, now I think, I went to the doctor and he's like, "Hey, um, you know, you might have liver cancer."
Dun dun
Oh
dun.
yeah, and I left my doctor before that.
Didn't pull any punches, right?
No, zero. I'm like, "Hey, Chris," and he's like, "Hey, Jason, I got your results back." And he's like, "Yeah, we got to do more tests because you might have liver cancer." I'm like, "What? Oh my god!" He goes, "Yeah, these numbers are way out of whack. We got to
Yeah,
do this." And so this is the annual blood test, which I remind everybody who's listening: go get your annual blood work, if nothing else. Go get that done so you can have some idea about, hey, it's a dashboard for how you're doing in life.
yeah,
But
yeah,
but he was like, "Hey," um, he goes, "How much do you drink?" And I said, "Well, not that much." And he goes, "Well, what does that mean? Like 3 to 4 glasses?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't drink more than that a day." And he was like, "No, dude, like a week."
a week.
And I was like, "Oh, what's a glass?" And he goes, "Okay, so how about we dial that one back just a little bit?" To your point,
Yeah,
it's there was this hidden dependency of me having to come in, grab a drink. Maybe it was an old fashioned, maybe it was a bourbon, maybe it was a glass of wine or two, sitting down, hanging out with the wife a little bit, just having that glass of wine. And it ended up being, it just got into a habitual state. And then I'm like, wow, I mean, I didn't think I was drinking that much.
yeah,
And then all of a sudden I turn around and go, wow, I really was. And he goes, well, let's make sure you don't have liver disease, I think is where it was at. It's either
yeah,
that or liver cancer. I'm
yeah,
like, thanks,
yeah,
Chris.
yeah,
I'm sorry. And it turns out everything's fine. I don't have it. But what I did is I stopped drinking that at the end of that call.
yeah,
I did not have a single drop of alcohol for about 6 months
yeah,
after that. And then before having like a glass of wine. And it's interesting because you understand, I mean, wine and alcohol or whatever it is as a coping mechanism. It helps dull
for
things.
sure.
And you
Yeah,
don't recognize that it dulls things. It just kind of smooths the edges, right? Smooths the edges
right.
a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And having not drank for 6 months straight, then having a glass of alcohol, I really noticed it. I was
Yeah,
like, wow, I feel a little bit not so great the day after.
yeah,
Just not horrible, not a hangover, but one of those things where it's just I don't feel on point. And from then so I started having a little bit. I would drink more socially on it. And as I let that kind of creep back up, I noticed, you know, that wasn't who I wanted to be. That wasn't
yeah,
not how I wanted to feel. And so the
yeah,
ritual had been broken by that 6 month hiatus. I'll just say it had been broken and was slowly creeping back up. And then it's almost that Gandalf moment, not today, none shall pass. And I go,
yeah.
okay, that's not me. And then tuning it back down to where it's at now. Well, I'll have maybe a social glass of wine or something like that, but not really a thing that I go to anymore.
Yeah, that's super consistent with my experience too. Where I mean, I just every once in a while, I still drink on Saturday night, right? So
Mhm.
that's a thing, and I will never stop doing that because it's super important to me, that ritual with my wife, and I do love it. Like
Don't get me wrong. I love a
taste
great glass
and
of
the
wine.
feel, like I do love it, but um, I experience the same thing, and I notice it in basically two ways. So the first is if I have drinks the next morning when I exercise, I just feel sluggish.
Yeah.
There's no other way to say it. Like everything just feels a little bit harder. And then I would say like kind of mentally, there's like a little bit of a cloud or like a fuzziness that sort of sits over the top that um, I'd never noticed until it got pulled away, right? I think about it maybe almost like someone with cataracts, right? It's like,
They slowly creep in.
yeah, there you slowly creep in. You're like, that's just how I see. And then someone takes it off and you're like, holy crap, I had no idea how blurry my vision was. And the one thing that I was really unprepared for was the amount of, I'll say, passive peer pressure to drink.
Bingo.
And people not knowing how to talk about it. So, like, there are just a lot of people that I interact with on a regular basis with whom having a drink is really part of the experience. And when I'd show up and they, they'd offer me a beer or drink or whatever, I say, no thanks, I'm good with waters. There's this kind of like, okay. And this sort of discomfort of like, I don't know how to interact with you now that there's not a drink in our hand, which I found
So
really
if you're not
interesting.
drinking, are you judging me because I'm drinking?
Well,
Which is like
yeah,
it's almost like you get this reverse judgment or this
yeah,
judgment
and
cycle.
kind of this idea too of like, so how long is this going to last? Right?
Mhm.
When are you back on the have drinks wagon? And I was really fascinated by it because I've thought a lot about what makes relationships and sort of shared experience and time spent together. And it is really interesting when a through line of your relationship with someone else is drinking,
Mhm.
or I mean, fill in the blank, whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
And then that thing goes away for one of those people. It really puts a spotlight on, okay, what is the through line for your relationship if that piece is gone, right? How do you actually have that connection or maintain that connection? And in some cases, it probably that was the connection. And if one person gives it up, that relationship is gonna fade a little bit. And for people where there's other things, that'll shine through immediately, will be like, hey, there's this other thing about you, which is really what holds us together. That's the sticky stuff. And then all of a sudden there's a spotlight on that, which is like really, really cool. But I I was surprised by it. And then also surprised by, like, kind of secretly in the corners, people would come by and go like, I'm really proud of you, or like, it's amazing that you're doing that, because I would always feel pressure to have a drink, right, when you're out with your coworkers or whatever, and you want to be part of the crew. It's kind of an interesting thing.
I think it's the common thread. So, and I want to pull out a couple of the ones that you did there. So when a relationship is based on a single thing, hey, we get together, have a drink after work.
Yep.
Okay. Sometimes it's a reason to start building a connection. And socially, we see that a lot of times, especially when we're dealing with vendors and events we go to. It's always a cocktail hour. It's always, can we go out and grab a drink?
Isn't it? It's always a cocktail
It's
hour.
always the cocktail hour.
Always.
And I feel some empathy for people who are in sales, where they're even if they wanted to like not drink, they're drinking, or
Yeah.
they're paying for it, I guess.
Yep. Yeah.
Because it is such that common in our culture. It's like, hey, we're going to get together. We all have a drink or some social lubricant, and then
Yeah.
we're able to like drop those defenses, have a realistic conversation, a real conversation, go from there.
Yeah.
But to your
Yeah.
point, sometimes that there's nothing real about it. That was the reason we got together, was to have that. And when that goes away, it really peels back that onion. Was there a relationship to begin with?
Was there a relationship? Yeah.
Was
It's
there a
funny you
relationship?
say that. A very good friend of mine had gotten into a sales type job.
Mhm.
And he had also recently like cut way back on drinking. And he told me that when he had situations like that, he would try to show up early. He would connect with the bartender or server and say to them in advance, like, here's how this is going to happen. I'm going to order a whatever, and you're going to bring me a club soda with a lime in it. And it's going
Yeah.
to look like a whatever, right? And then as you keep
Vodka
ordering
soda with
drinks,
lime.
yeah, whatever, I'm just going to say, yep, bring me another. And while everyone else is ordering bourbons and scotch and martinis and beers and whatever, he's getting his other drink. So as to not give the impression that he's not one of them for that
Mm-hmm.
experience. And think about how powerful of a message that is. for our society and acceptance
Yeah.
that he felt compelled, based on his experience to that point, to pretend to drink in order to like make the situation happen. Like it was really wild. And he and I talked about it. He's like, yeah, I've thought about just ordering water, but I've done it before. And I always get these weird looks from all the people that I'm with of like, what's wrong with this guy that he won't have a drink with us? And so he changed his approach to basically have the charade that he's drinking with them, but not be drinking alcohol all night.
Yeah, I may or may not have used that technique before.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, my.
Oh, I'm like, I just don't care anymore. I just order water.
Well, nowadays, or I still get the strange looks because I'm like, can you bring me some iced coffee? They're like, it's 10:30 at night, and I'm like, I drink coffee.
Yeah, no, I will
And
do
so
that too because I do love
everybody
coffee.
can have their drink, and I get my drink, and then honestly, weird enough, they're like, I'm not drinking alcohol. I'm drinking a pot of coffee at this time. Oh, it becomes a point of conversation. Well, let's talk about weirdo Jason over there drinking a pot of coffee while the rest of us are
Yeah.
enjoying a glass of wine. What's going on? But
I think
you still have to put effort into that, right? It becomes another.
There's also another interesting effect of that, depending on who you're with and kind of your status of that group and the order in which people place their orders. If a perceived leader orders a non-alcoholic drink first, the likelihood of other people ordering alcohol starts to go down.
It does.
Right. And then
Dramatically.
you'll have those little like back conversations of saying like, hey, thanks for that, because I didn't really want to have a drink anyway. And it made it okay for me to order a Diet Coke since you didn't have a drink, right? I felt the pressure. And again, I think there's this really intense cultural pressure, specifically in the corporate business world, that you go out and people drink. And it's cool. It's cool to be a trendsetter and be like, no, I'm going to do what I want.
Not
and
today.
You guys should do what you want too. Yeah.
I want to pull on that a little bit. I think leadership shows up in all sorts of places. And that's an example of saying, hey, you know what? It's okay to do what you think is right.
Yeah.
Not just, hey, I have to go along with the crowd. And that's that idea of, I recently was having a conversation about drift or momentum in life. And momentum in life can be good when your momentum and your rituals, what we're talking about here, are building relationships, are strengthening yourself, and you're making a positive impact in your life. Those rituals are great, and momentum build there when it's intentional. Momentum when it's intentional is fantastic. However, a lot of us have experienced, and a lot of people do continue to experience, drift due to momentum. So one thing happens, and then another, and then another, and then another, and then you find yourself in a situation that you never would have wanted to be at or intended to be at to begin with, because you're just going with the flow, and that flow happens to be the wrong one.
Totally. Yeah. And the further you drift, the more catastrophic the course correction can become, right?
Completely. And as you start to diverge, you're like, and then all of a sudden you wake up and you go, how did I get here?
It is totally right. I think it's the accumulation of little tiny things, right? Oh, like, and drinking is a great example, right? Oh, and I went through this. I will say to all of our internet peeps watching or listening, raise your hand if this was you. You're working from home. You know, you don't have to drive in the next day. You're probably getting up a little later. You're home a little sooner. And for my wife and I, it started out as like, hey, let's have 2 beers tonight. Oh, yeah, okay, that's cool. Hey, instead of beer, do you want to split a bottle of wine tonight? Oh, yeah, let's do that. Then it's, oh, we finished the bottle of wine. I could still go for a beer. What do you think? Right? It's that so slow creep. And like back to your conversation, it's like all of a sudden I'm realizing like between the two of us, we're downing 6 bottles of wine a week and like 30 beers. Like, this is
My
not
wine
healthy.
club membership is not keeping up with us, you
Yeah.
know?
But, it's anything when you look at how those unhealthy habits start,
Mhm.
right? It's one little thing. And you rationalize it really quickly and you go, well, I'm not snorting cocaine. I'm not
Exactly.
waking up in a dumpster, right, on Sunday mornings, right? I still
Mhm.
have a job. I'm still good at my job. My kids aren't in jail, right? You do all this
Yeah.
rationalization to try to like convince yourself that what you're doing isn't actually that bad when you actually know inside like you're slipping over the edge of whatever thing it
Yeah.
is.
Well, the fact that I'm
And
having this internal conversation at all
totally,
mean
right?
means that if I'm trying to rationalize it to myself when nobody else is in the room,
Yeah.
that's probably a good wake-up call for folks to say, "Okay, maybe I need to look differently at this."
Yeah, no, totally. And that like dude, that's the hardest work in the world, right? The
Mhm.
self-reflection and like admitting to yourself that one, you got there. Two, you got there all by yourself, right? You don't get to blame someone else for holding you down and dumping a beer down your throat or
Yeah.
whatever it is, right? Forcing you not to go for your run or read a book or sit down and meditate, whatever the good things are in your life, right? Nobody forced you. You made those
Yeah.
decisions all by yourself.
We found the perpetrator. Here's the
That's right.
mirror. Take a look at him.
Yeah, it was me. It was me. And then, yeah, back to the course correction, right?
Mhm.
Like my personality is always like, see a problem, go fix it,
Mhm.
and like all in 100%. And that's really hard when you've drifted a ways, right? And
Yeah.
like, in that case for me, it was a handful of things, right? Like I was drinking more than I should. I wasn't exercising as much as I should. So there was like a health kind of weight component.
Mm.
There was that whole other thing, and like you get overwhelmed trying to tackle all that stuff at once. I think you and I have talked about the book Atomic Habits a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Great book.
Obviously a really, really smart, science based, and totally achievable method for stacking habits, right?
Mhm.
And saying, like, you don't have to course correct overnight. Just do the one thing, right? Which is maybe you want to exercise in the morning. First step is just start getting up earlier. Don't
Mhm.
even try to exercise, but get used to being up at the time that you do have time to go for a 20-minute run or go hit the gym for 15 minutes or whatever. And then when you've established that getting up thing, then go exercise. Because when you throw it all together, man, just dragging your ass out of bed's the hardest thing. And
Well, yeah, we make it insurmountable. When you look at bigger problems, that's my air quotes for the episode,
yeah,
problems, um, we think, "Hey, I instantly need to be the best. I instantly need to solve it, the big problem." But when you deconstruct it when you deconstruct it, that's when you find problems or situations that are consumable and easily adjusted.
yep,
But I like to think if you take an entire like Death Star Lego that you've put together, you think, wow, that would take forever. I could never put that together. But you could click two Legos together, two,
yeah,
just one or
yes,
two.
absolutely, right,
Yeah,
yeah,
I got the woo, boom, success. And I think when you take the success metric and you move it down to the atomic, right? You move down
yeah,
to the smallest consumable portion that you can actually impact and you're comfortable with and do that, it starts to build the right momentum. You
yeah,
start that's that right momentum versus that's intentional momentum versus reactive momentum.
yeah. No, you're 100% right, and I'm getting chills right now because this circles back to what we were talking about,
Mhm.
which is also the idea that when you start doing that kind of habit stacking, initially you have an end point, a goal, right?
Yes.
Which
I'm
is I
climbing
want to
that
lose
mountain. That's my
weight,
Everest right
I
there.
want to do whatever.
Mhm.
When you do that stuff right, all of a sudden the satisfaction comes from the process,
Yes.
right?
That.
And back to the moment, which is like you're stoked because you put two Legos together, not because you built the Death Star,
No.
right? Like, and you walk away going, "That was freaking cool, man." And like, a perfect example in my life is I was always like athletic, and soccer was my thing. I hated running. Like, I would look at people
By
who
the
are in
way, this is my
country.
experience of soccer as well. I did soccer because all my friends did soccer.
Yeah,
You know, soccer is a sport where the punishment for go-to laps is your sport.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's exactly right. Like that's how they punished you. Like, oh, you did something bad. You got to go run as fast as you can around the
Do some
field,
wind
right? Or
sprints.
whatever. Yeah. Um, and uh, 10 years ago, you and I've talked about this. I started having a lot of mental health challenges, specifically around anxiety and depression. And one of the things I was not doing well at the time was exercise. And I was sort of like forcing myself to try to be active and stuff. And I would say about 6 years ago is when I really started committing to running. And the original goal was really all around fitness and trying to help from a chemical standpoint manage the chemicals that get associated with elevated response right in your body, because exercise is one of the ways to diffuse those chemicals, get them out of your system. And for me, what was interesting was I was always doing it for the goal, right? I wanted this outcome out of it. And I can't even explain how it flipped, but all of a sudden, I absolutely loved running. Like that was the goal.
Right?
Like I just want to get my butt out of bed, and I always do it early in the morning. So I usually run between 5:45 and 6:20, right? That kind of stage. And like now, the awesome secondary side effect is, yeah, I'm in better shape. I feel better. But like the running itself, that being outside, the fresh air, like the quiet, I always take my dog with me. Like that's the part that is the best, right? And even if I didn't get those benefits anymore, like that's what I would want to do now. And like what you just described is when you start to look at the process, the ritual, whatever it is, and running is a ritual for
It
me, right?
is.
That's a great example, right? I get up, put my stuff on, I put my armor on, whatever you want to call it, my grab the dog like it's a thing. And being able to shift your thinking toward the process, the ritual, away from just the outcome, like stupidly powerful for changing how you think about your time and how you think about what matters. It's such a cool thing to go through and to see in other people. I mean, like I said, you and I've talked about it on more than one occasion, and I love the way that you think about life and your philosophy and how you think like this is how we spend time. And it's a cool thing to think about these ideas of really complex life challenges and go like, man, you don't need to solve the whole thing. Just go fix this one piece over here. And all of a sudden, those problems start to solve themselves a lot of the time, or not seem so big, or become much more addressable, as
They
it were.
look, because some problems are big and some problems are hairy and they're scary and they're bad. Okay.
100%. Yeah.
I completely want to honor that. But some are like a Jenga puzzle that has grown tall in your room, but only takes moving one small thing out of the base to make it collapse and go away.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
sometimes you go, wow, that's so insurmountable. I don't know what to do with this thing. It's so big and it takes up so much space. But
Yeah.
but it can be very fragile in its foundation. I'm talking about negative things in your life, things
Yeah.
you
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
you
100%.
want to take care of that. And I think it's these small changes, and it can have immense impact when placed correctly. I'm going to change this one small thing. Like I don't need to solve everything. I'm going to solve this one small thing. But you know what? You take a couple of grains of sand, you throw them into a precision machinery,
Yeah.
and then that precision machinery is meant to cause you grief.
Stop working.
It stops working. You get
Yeah.
in, you mess that sucker up. So you don't have to take out the whole machine. You just got to take out one cog.
Yeah.
I got to take out a critical cog of pain. And if I
Yeah.
do that, that whole thing becomes less of a problem.
Yeah.
And I want to pull the thread on the ritual things, because I think it's rituals and goals. The goal state shows you direction. Goals are directional, not
Totally.
destinational.
Yeah.
And so when you have a goal and you finally get to that goal, it was never really the goal. It was who you became along the way, the type of person you had to become who obviously has that kind of goal, obviously can achieve that, has the relationships, knows the people, does the things.
Yeah.
So the path, the ritual itself of doing that daily activity
Yeah.
becomes the actual benefit, rather
Yeah.
than, hey, I can now I've run a marathon. So what?
Yeah.
Okay, you run a
Yeah.
marathon. The marathon just happens to be you going, I ran a marathon. And it's all those mornings, all those times, all that contemplation, those one or two steps you took getting off the couch and going and doing something and coming back,
Yeah.
that started the journey to being the type of person who can do that, who does do that, and actually
Yeah.
acts as a model for other people to follow.
Yeah. Yeah. I think about that. I don't even know where I heard it. But I have this memory of, people asking little kids, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And there's a lot of like astronaut, police officer, fireman, or something.
Mhm.
And one of the kids said, kind. I want to be kind when I grow up. And like, my head about exploded. I'm like, this is the kind of thinking that, like, to me is the coolest thing, right? Which is,
This little guy gets it.
yeah, this little person gets it. And I heard something the other day, which I thought is a really interesting challenge. And it really made me think about myself. And they said that basically the person said, if you had to introduce yourself to someone you didn't know, how would you do it if you weren't allowed to talk about what you do for a living,
Mhm.
where you live, any of the possessions you have in your life, any kind of like competitive achievements? So like you just talked about, like, I won this thing. How would you introduce yourself? And I kind of like, it really threw me for a
That's
second.
a
And I'm like,
stunner.
yeah, like when you strip away a lot of these sort of achievement, like outcome goals, status based things, and you look at like who you are as a person and how you would explain that to another person, like we're terrible at that as human beings, right? Like, what the first thing, if you ever ask anybody, or people talk to each other, what, 99% of the time, what do you do for a living? Oh, cool. All right. Where do you live? Where are you from? Where do you live? Oh, okay. A little bit family gets into this, right? Because like those are awesome achievements that are not necessarily
Well, right.
related to that. But it's a really interesting thing for me where it was like, you don't get to talk about anything material. And what you really end up having to start to talk about is um, your, what's the word I'm looking for? Your values, like your value system, right? Like, here's what
Well,
matters.
it starts landing on purpose, right?
Yeah, totally. Purpose, which goes
Well,
back to this thing of like,
yeah,
it's not the outcome, it's the engagement in the process and the purpose. And
right. Yeah.
I don't
What
know.
is the highest expression of your values, beliefs, and capabilities?
Yeah.
That's hard for a lot of folks
It's
to
super
get
hard.
to.
And it goes back to that. It goes like, this is probably one of the biggest occurrences of dissonance in people's lives, is they have in their head like, hey, I have these values. And they look at the way that they actually live their life and they are misaligned. And that goes back to this, like, there's no one to blame but yourself, right? Like, we make the decisions. We're the captains of our own ship. Like, obviously there are external factors that dictate certain things, but I think that's a pretty constant misalignment for folks, is they have a set of values that they believe are really critical for them, but they look at how they live their life and it doesn't necessarily match up.
No. And well, I mean, the name of this podcast, there's two things
That's right.
going on here. So I often ask, what would you do if you didn't have to do anything? And so I would drink coffee, do cool stuff with people of purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's another question underneath it. Who would you be if you didn't have any requirements on you? Who would you be? Who are you?
Yeah. Yeah. And that, I mean, that's kind of like the whole integrity thing. Like, integrity is doing the right thing when no one's watching.
When no one's watching him?
Right? If there wasn't judgment and visibility and social expectation, like, who would you be? It's a really hard self-reckoning, Like I'm going through a little bit of that now, because I'm stepping away from corporate America and doing my arts investment now, making music and building stuff out of wood. So
And
I am
what am I supposed to say? Quitter?
a
No,
quitter.
I'm happy for you in your retirement.
Yeah, yeah. And it's a hard thing, dude. And I've been an achiever my whole life,
Mhm.
and you and I grew up in an era, the 80s in particular, of like success in life is lots of money, fancy clothes, fancy cars, big
Greed is
house,
good. From the
power.
get-go.
Yeah, greed is good. Good old Gordon,
Mhm.
setting the stage. And I always had this thing in my head that was like, you are an achiever. Achievers go and get these things. They do these things. It was self-applied pressure, for the trappings of success as we define it in the capitalistic society. And dude, that's all. It's human cholesterol, man. It's like stuff, crap, accumulation.
Human cholesterol.
Yeah, it's not. I didn't come up with that term. It's from a really great movie, Home for the Holidays. But it's the idea that we get sucked into the trap of accumulating stuff, right? And that the dream is having stuff, bigger TVs and fancier cars and bigger houses and more of whatever. And that at the end of the day, none of that is purpose driven or purpose supporting, right? It's pretty self indulgent, and ultimately, there's no such thing as enough ever.
Hmm.
And it's a pretty empty achievement, for lack of a better word. But yeah, I'm really excited to be making the transition to be able to your point, drink coffee and do cool stuff all day with people that I think are cool.
Yeah, I think it's well, and I'm gonna to your point. We come into this life with nothing, and we leave it with nothing.
For sure.
So if those are our bookends, why is it so important in the middle to have a bunch of stuff?
I know, right?
You know,
And make that become like the most important thing above of all else, right? Which is
right?
like, I know for a fact, in self-reflection, I was really bad at investing in relationships, like from my mid 20s up until my like early 40s. So a good portion of like a pretty important time in your life.
Yeah.
I was really intentional actually about not building relationships. And I rationalized it because of my job. I was an information security leader. And I was like, you know what? I need to keep all my stuff private. I need to not have connections with people because that's not healthy for my role. And I rationalized it as a good thing. And obviously, looking back, that was a dumb idea. And I should have been investing in relationships to have people to help through all that those difficult times and whatever. And COVID obviously made everything way harder because you couldn't meet people in person. And now that's just like really forefront in my mind is making investments to spend time with other cool people who are also doing cool stuff.
I think it goes back to that. It goes back to the identity and how your social space. You know what redefining all the things that we did around identity because a lot of folks are, hey, here's what I do, here's what I did,
Yeah,
here's where I work, here's what I have,
yeah,
which is a lot of ways to avoid here's here's who I am.
yeah. And every one of those things can be ripped away from you,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I spend a lot of time kind of in the music world, and when COVID hit, of course, live shows just stopped.
Gone.
So any musician who was a touring musician or played live shows, that part of their life evaporated almost literally overnight. And there were a lot of musicians who really struggled from an identity standpoint because,
Right.
they sat there and went like, I'm someone like this is who I am. I
I'm
go,
a live
right? This
performer
is what I
for
do.
people, right?
And some of the smarter folks in the music world, Victor Wooten, who's a phenomenal bass player and also a pretty awesome philosopher, he talked
You
about it
shared some
really,
stuff with him. I
yeah,
love it.
really
I love
openly
it. He's
about this
great.
idea of if your identity is that, you need to go back and think about it, because that can be ripped away from you at any time. And that can't make you not who you are, right? You
Right.
are somebody outside of that. And what is it? And like everything you just rattled off, like your job and your house and trappings, whatever, like that can all be taken away from you. So when you strip that away and say like, okay, who am I really? What is my identity? Um, then you get to the cool stuff. Like that's the really exciting stuff that will really fill your cup and give you purpose in your life.
So, what's the advice you'd give someone who's getting ready to make the transition that you're in the middle of making right now, going from sort of, hey, you know what, full time work, full time doer to,
Yeah.
hey, what's the essential stuff that I'm going to do now? Or how am I going to describe my life going forward? How am I going to write that next chapter? So, what's your advice around that?
Yeah. So I have a couple pieces of advice. So first, I think a lot of people looked at me and thought like, wow, just on a whim, he made this decision. And the truth is that is not the case at all. And my wife and I had been actively talking and planning about it for, a good 7, 8 years. The second thing is, I have already done a lot of work intentionally around what is my identity, what's my life priority, what fills my cup. Like if I were to look back in 10 years, like what decisions would I be regretting about how I spent my time and how I chose to
Mhm.
prioritize things? Because I think doing some of that before you make the decision sets some of the guardrails
Okay.
and like parameters, right? Um, if you do it after, right? If you like, peace out, homie, catch you later, and then you go, shoot, all right, what's important to me? Like, how should I spend my time?
I know.
You're doing a lot of hard work in a time that's like pretty
More like
unstable.
a kamikaze retirement plan. Like,
Yeah.
I just dove towards it
Um,
and whoa.
Yeah, and I
What next?
think tied directly to that, at least for me, what's been really important is building a network of friends that I have felt safe enough to talk about that transition with,
Hmm.
who I trust, I think are smart people, and who would give me feedback and say like, dude, you're being dumb, like you should keep working for a while, or no, that's amazing, or just asking questions like, oh, well, cool, like how do you think you're going to spend your time, what's going to be important to you, what about a work environment are you going to miss? And there is no question, like I joke a lot that I'm an introvert and that I don't like people. The truth is I like people a lot, but it's really specific people, and I am much more interested in 10 friends that go a mile deep than having 70 friends that goes 10 feet deep, right? I want to have intimate, close connections with people. And so like me investing in that, and part of that is being vulnerable with other people, right? Which is always
Mhm.
hard. And figuring out how I prioritize and make time for that has been something that I started before I made the transition, so that
Okay.
it's not like day one, like, hey dude, you want to meet up and go for coffee? Because I don't have a job anymore. And they're like, oh dude, I'm kind of busy, or like, that's weird. We haven't talked in 8 months, and like now you want to go have coffee?
How'd you get
Um,
this number?
yeah, exactly. Who are you again?
And who are you
Uh,
again? What is it
Kind of
you do here?
building, yeah, building that framework for me has been an important step, so that
Okay.
I have um, a network of folks that I'll be able to call up at any time and go, man, I'm jonesing this kind of connection, or I'm missing this thing, and like be there for me. The other thing that I would say that for me felt easier than other people might is that I have had these two things that I love to do, which is create music and
Mhm.
woodworking, and in my case, specifically building guitars. Like they're more than hobbies for me.
Okay.
It's the kind of thing where like I will lay awake at night thinking like, okay, how do I solve that problem? Like, what am I going to do here? And then like I'll get the solution. Like that's so exciting. Having that like that thing there for me that I'm like super passionate about. And I
Nice.
will I'm happy every day to get up and like go into the shop or studio and just spend time doing that, is super helpful because I think for people, particularly people for whom work has been their primary thing in life.
Yeah, their identity. Yeah.
Yeah. When you rip that away and then they go, man, like, I mean, I like to play golf, but I can't do that all day, every day. And back to this idea of what are the things where the process fills your cup versus the outcome, because that's really what you're
Right.
talking about. Um, Having an idea of what those things will be beforehand, I think is really, really helpful.
I like it. Don't leave a vacuum.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Don't leave a vacuum.
Don't jump into the abyss.
Yeah, without a plan.
Yeah. Yeah. As one of my early bosses said, you got to have a plan, you got to work the plan. Like, that's the secret to success.
That's the secret to success. I tell folks, just you want success in your job, show up, do your job.
Yeah, that's
That's
exactly
it.
right.
That's it. I mean, there's nothing else magical about that. Um, well, I think that's phenomenal. I mean, whether you're going to be an abyss jumper, you know, or moving through the next step in life is with purpose and ritual. Because
Yeah.
I do think it's those daily things. People are like, how do you build a phenomenal life? One day at a time. And one day is broken down to 24 hours and 1,440 minutes. So you build it 1
Yeah.
minute at a time. You go,
Yeah.
well, it just seems so insurmountable. Well, what are you going to do now? Because guess what? You never get now again. And you're at this new space of now. And
100%.
and so be present here and do the process, do the ritual, do the thing that empowers you. Because then guess what your story is? You go
Yeah.
back and look at it and you go, wow, every day I lived that day.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it was the path. And along the way, I hit some milestones and I did some things and I met some people and I created some stuff and other things happened. But being there every day, showing up with the things that fill your cup, you're talking
Yeah.
about,
Yeah.
that,
No, you're spot
that's
on.
the story. That's the
You
story
know,
we all
it's
hope to
something
write.
I've worked on a lot because I have a tendency to like ruminate on things that happened in the past. Like, wow, that
Mhm.
conversation didn't go the way I wanted. I'll play it 1,000 times in my head. This is how I would have done it better. And then I do the same thing for everything coming up. And so I spent a lot of time really trying to get good at like just be here now.
Mhm.
And I had come up with this thing, and
Even for
I,
hard
I
stuff,
wrote
we're
it.
here now.
Yeah, yeah. I wrote it down, and I wrote down like the most important moment is the next one, with this idea that you have the ability to control the next moment. And my friend and counselor at the time, he goes, Brant, like you're almost there. The most important moment is this one.
It's this one.
And I was like, God damn it. I hate it when people are smarter than me, but you're 100% right. Right. And he's like, yeah, the most important moment is this one. And dude, it's so hard to just like actually be able to do that. Um, but man, when it happens, and this is flow state, right? You and I've talked about it a little bit, is this idea of like when you're just there
Yeah.
and everything else, it's like you're traveling at the speed of light and everything else is just happening around you. It's like you're almost stopped in time. It's just amazing.
Well,
It's a
time
cool.
doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Time doesn't matter then. So you can go at infinite speed to infinite places when
Yeah.
you're in the flow.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
So I'm gonna be waiting for the book.
Okay. Yeah.
So when you get the book done, well, because I'm
You
putting that on you now. Here's a
you
future
can
book.
write the opener. Yeah, I'll write the book. You can write the opening.
I'm happy to write the opening for you on that one. Um, hey, how can people follow you or connect with you now that you're heading off to the next
Okay,
chapter?
yeah. So I am on LinkedIn, Brant Borchert, Borchert. I think we can probably drop a link in the
Yeah,
LinkedIn world.
we will.
If you're interested in following the guitar building stuff, I have a presence on Instagram. It is North Fork Instruments. I also have a website of the same thing. And in the music world, I am Brant Phillip with two L's. I also have an Instagram presence there and a website for that.
Well, fantastic. And I'm going to have you back at some other point in the future here.
Oh, heck yeah.
Guaranteed. So this is not the
Heck
last
yeah.
of this one. I'm going to be part of that circle, whether you like it or not. I'm going to force my way into that. Like,
Do it.
I'm like, oh, there's only 10 slots. Oh, you mother lovers, there's 9 slots. Let's go.
Let's go.
Because
Right
I
on.
may or may not have a competitive streak to me. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm just used to, the Ricky Bobby rule. So, um,
Second place is first loser.
first loser. Your first place with me, sir. Thank you very much for
Awesome.
being here today.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate you as a human being. You're doing awesome stuff. Thank you for having me on this show.
Great.